Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Fish, and this is going to be my first ever recorded Hearthstone video for YouTube. I will be doing these as often as I want, essentially, concerning the balance patches. There have been so many different patches that if we wanted to make videos for every time we thought there needed to be a patch on something, and every time they released it, it would be gone in like, you know, if we went through day one and said what we thought what changes needed to be done, we would have been already out of date on day two because they made so many patch changes to start. And there's going to be quite a bit of new balance coming into Hearthstone as we have about 1 month until the next expansion. Um, However, the timing of this patch is very interesting, as it doesn't affect most people, but for the upper echelon of players who are playing in Hearthstone Masters, there's actually a Masters tournament coming up in this weekend after this patch drops, which you can see is on July 14th. There's actually a so like that next weekend there's a Hearthstone Masters tournament, and so players have very, very little time to construct their decks. About, I don't know, a little over 2 days to construct new decks for the meta for the Masters tournament, which will be very interesting to see how things pan out. Usually most of these players are pretty good at getting a decent read on what's going on in the meta. These cards are going to definitely shake things up a bit. There were, I believe, 5 different classes that have nerfs, or no, it's yeah, I think it's 5 classes. Warrior, Mage, Druid, Demon Hunter, and Rogue all received some form of a nerf, and then and a couple of neutral cards as well along the way. So let's move right in. We have Corsair Cache. Oh, Corsair Cache, one of the staples of every Warrior deck now. Ever since it got released, this card has been in every single deck, and it's very, very strong card. Not only can this card create what is known in Magic as what is pretty much the job of what Tutor would do in Magic. You get something very, very specific put in your hand. It does that, and it also buffs it with attack and durability. And so Heart Blizzard has changed it to be, you still draw the weapon, but it only gains a durability. And how does this change what I think Corsair Cache's play amount will be? I think it'll be tested and see if it will work in decks. I have no... My guess is that it might end up just being a situational card. Mainly, maybe they just give something like Ankar an extra durability. The real strength of that card was obviously the fact that it did buff attack of the weapon, and so instead of having 2 attack, most weapons had 3 attack, and if you're running Wrench Caliber in Bomb Warrior, you get 4 attack. I do not know how this is going to affect something like in Rage Warrior. I don't think it's really going to affect too much, probably. It'll still allow people to get their weapons. And I do see a world in which there aren't that many weapons you would even want to run. This might take Livewire Lance out of decks, and that would only leave Ankar, which would make Corsair Cache a very specific card, and you would probably only just want to run one in that case. But again, there is also a scenario where it's still very strong, and we just run it with the same amount of weapons that we've been running with in Warrior decks. So Corsair Cache, definitely a much needed nerf, and definitely I believe the right call to just change it so it does not buff attack. Although it doesn't allow for Warrior to leverage their health against 3 health minions. I mean, Warrior does pretty much everything else anyway, so if that's gonna be the tough part for it, oh well. I guess. So next up, we actually have... I'm gonna actually go down this way. We'll come back to some of this stuff later. We have Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, whose current form is 9 mana 8/8. You get 2 dragons if you have no duplicates. and these dragons cost 0 mana. So a big theme of this of these nerfs is going to be the understanding that 0 cost cards are very powerful. That's something that has been known for a long time. If something can cost 0 when it costs usually, 9 or 10, it's very, very strong. And that's something that Dragon Queen Alexstrasza has created in the game. I love the cool plays that you can make with it. Like, you need health and you play Dragon Queen Alex, and you pull a Nazari, and so you full heal everybody. You feel full heal both heroes, but it really helps you a lot because now you created so much power on the board. You created 12-20 worth of stats, and you might even have another really good dragon in your hand as well. So I think making Dragon Queen, the dragons that you get cost 1, is a very good second nerf to Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Another nerf that was done in the past that isn't really obviously in the text is that you cannot discover Dragon Queen Alexstrasza from herself. So you play Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, you can't get another Dragon Queen from there. I think this is a much needed nerf, and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza will still see play, but you might also see some other top ends coming in from classes. It's still going to be strong though, because on turn 10 you can still play at least one of the dragons, but it's nice to not just drop an insane amount of power in one turn. Next up, we have the only rogue nerf. We have Galakron, obviously the rogue Galakron. Battle cry, draw X number of cards, and they cost 0. So now instead of costing 0, they now cost 1. I believe that this is a good and healthy change for the game. It's kind of crazy that you can drop Galakron and get just 4 0-cost cards, and you might get a 0-cost Kronks with, you can like 0-cost Kronks, Shadow Step the Kronks, and put it back out for 4 mana. That's a lot. Just like the amount of plays that Rogue's able to make with 0-cost cards is very good, and Rogue already has Heist Baron Togwaggle, which can give you Wondrous Wand, which is 0-cost cards. So that in itself is very good, and so now we have at least this only costs 1. So at most you're taking away 4 mana worth. You're adding an extra 4 mana worth of playable things for Rogue, which is fine. Rogue has a lot of ways to cheat mana. It's a very key component of their class. And so I'm gonna move back up here, and we're now gonna look at Dragoncaster. Mage card Dragoncaster costs 6 mana now, 4/4. If you are holding a dragon, your next spell costs 0. And so there has been some amount of debate from other people as to what possibly should have been the change to Dragoncaster. The main thing I think that they wanted to change is having Dragoncaster box not be so playable as early as turn 6 or even as early as turn 5. And now it's still playable on turn 6 with coin, but I think a possible change could have been reducing the cost of the next spell by X amount. And you could make it like 8. That way you could still play something like Power of Creation or Deep Freeze. However, you can't just drop a box, and which is insane. However, I understand that box is a powerful card, but it is powerful both ways. It can hurt you and help you. So I don't know. Dragoncaster seems like an unnecessary nerf. My thoughts personally are that it's definitely future-proofing the class of Mage, which could potentially, if next expansion gives Mage a lot of top tier cards, it makes Mage very strong, or some new mechanic that is really good with Mage, then Dragoncaster could become a problem. So making it 7 mana now, it might be future-proofing it. Doesn't feel great right now, but we'll see how things play out. All right, and now on to Druid nerfs. We have a Druid nerf, but only one of them. we have a nerf to Fungal Fortunes. Fungal Fortunes, currently 2 mana, draw 3 cards, and discard any minions you draw. So making Fungal Fortunes now cost 3 is a good step for Druid. I do believe that most of the players have been talking to at high level, talking about like legend, high legend, above 1,000 legend, have been saying that Druid is just it's very high. It's a high rolly deck, so yeah, it can fail, but the amount of times that you just see people have, 10 mana by turn 5 is a lot. And so Fungal Fortunes, which isn't a ramp card, and you just put it in the 3, and you just put it in that 3 mana slot. Like, Druid doesn't really have that much in the 3 mana slot besides Bog Beam, which you're not playing before turn 7 on most games, unless you absolutely are dire to kill off some Demon Hunter minions. Because now I think Fungal Fortunes getting nerfed to 3 is a good thing, but I don't think it changes a whole lot. I think it makes Breath of Dreams on 2 a very, very strong, makes it like the strong play. You can, like, before you could say, okay, well, Fungal Fortunes, well, they didn't ramp their mana on turn 2, so now we might even see more mana ramp on 2, into mana ramp on 4. So Fungal Fortunes, you know, it's probably still gonna be playable because you need to draw your spells. However, I don't know. I feel like this doesn't address all the problems that Druid has, that the specific spell Druid deck has, with all the dragons with at least the dragon variant, which is what's mainly being played. So I was left wanting with Druid, but Fungal Fortunes is again a nice nerf, and so I say that's a good job by Blizzard. Honestly, I don't think any of these nerfs have been terrible. Some of them have been a bit interesting, and I do believe that there's other reasonings behind them. So next up we have Kane's Sun Fury. We're gonna have 3 Dragon Hunter nerfs to end this. They're doing, I don't know, about like round 5, or yeah, I think it's round 5 of Demon Hunter nerfs. And that's because obviously it's a new class, and so they really set the power level high for this class, and it became instantly like the most powerful class in the game on day 1. So they've now been incrementally changing the cards and making things cost more, having things go down in health, as we see here. So we have Kane's Sun Fury to start now, currently 4 mana, 3 attack, 5 health. Charge, ignore all friendly attacks, ignore taunt. So the change to Kane becoming a 3/4, I believe, is really good for one purpose. In that, on turn 4, you could usually just drop Kane and be okay. If you have enough tempo and you're just dropping Kane on 4, like if you already have board as Demon Hunter, he's gonna increase your power by a lot on turn 4, because he's gonna make it so your opponent can't play Bone Wraith, can't play something like Bone Wraith, Shield of Galakron in the case of Galakron Rogue, and just other cards that create problems for the deck. It just creates a problem on turn 4 if it's a 3/5 sometimes, because Demon Hunter is just insanely strong in general. So you play that on 4 combined with another card on this list that got nerfed, Warglaves of Azeroth. That's on 5. You have so much power on the board, and your opponent can't really taunt up because of Kane, it's essentially a 3/5 minion with taunt. So now making it a 3/4 that does the same thing, I believe Kane still has its place in Demon Hunter. His place, or I believe it's his place. So Kane will now be mainly used as a finisher, which is, I think, the purpose I think a lot of people already held with Kane was, your opponent picks up a big board, say a Druid plays an Emerald Dragon, well, I'm just going to play Kane and go around it. And I believe it's really, I think it's a really good way for a class that just is very aggressive to continue to play aggressively and continue to do what it's supposed to do. Like, I know there is obviously the case that it's too strong, that you just made a charge minion that could just get through taunts very insanely strong. So I do believe that this health change is necessary, and I believe it's good. And Kane, I didn't think Kane was that insanely strong to start. Um, but I think now it's in a proper. But I think now it's in a proper place. Next up, we have Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a 5 mana legendary spell that for Demon Hunters, swap your hero power to deal 5 damage, and it has 2 uses. And after you use it, it swaps back to the old hero power. So now Metamorphosis is changing to 4 damage. I believe that this is a very needed change. Metamorphosis, essentially over 2 turns, was a Pyroblast to the face. And so if you got low and you're a class that can't heal, and your opponent just plays Metamorphosis, you're just gonna get bursted down in 2 turns. There were some cases in some decks, like even Control Demon Hunter, where Metamorphosis was just kind of used as a clear. But even in those decks, it's still sent face when it can be, in like the Control Demon Hunter deck, which has come up in the last couple of weeks. So switching to 4 is really nice. It makes it only 8 damage, which is still a lot, but it still reduces the burst of Demon Hunter by a lot. That's the purpose of the nerfs, I believe, of these 3 cards, is to limit Demon Hunter's burst effect. So we have Metamorphosis going to 4. We now also have Warglaze of Azzinoth going from 5 mana to 6 mana. It's a 3 attack, 4 durability weapon, and it can attack a minion. And if it and when it attacks a minion, it essentially can just keep attacking minions. And then when it hits face, it's no longer can attack. So Warglaves, in my opinion, and in some other player, and I think in some other players' opinions, is the most busted card in Demon Hunter. The reason is that you can just drop it on 5 without anything else, and you can clear a board. Like, you can just clear a small board of minions like that. Because you can Warglaves, and now you can't. At least now we don't have Warglaves Twin Slice, or you don't have the capabilities to go to 5 attack on that first turn. But even on like, you have that for 1 turn, you can just do a little bit, but then you can eventually just ramp it up to so much attack. So I think making it 6 mana puts it at a point where a lot of other decks start turning their power on at 6, and really are able to put minions out of the range of Warglaves. Warglaves will still be strong, but Warglaves won't be a game-winning card. In some respects, it won't instantly win you the game, but it'll help the Demon Hunters win the game at the end. So what are my overall? So I'll give my overall thoughts on this balance patch. I believe that this is a very good balance patch. I believe every single one of these nerfs, besides maybe the Dragoncaster nerf, is very very positive, and I think still the Dragoncaster nerf might turn out to be a positive in the future. Right now, it does feel bad for Highlander Mage players, like myself. I love playing Highlander Mage, so having that delayed power, I think maybe a good upside of this is being able to Conjurers calling for 7 drops instead of 6 drops. But other than that, I think Dragoncaster getting delayed that extra turn is a big deal, because Highlander Mage really needs strong cards, and Dragoncaster was the best card in the deck, and so they just essentially nerfed 2 of the best cards in the deck in Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and Dragoncaster. But Blizzard, I'm sure, has a good plan for this, and we'll have to see what happens. And I think that the meta is going to change, and it'll be pretty interesting going forward. So thank you for listening to this video. Please leave any feedback in the comment section down below. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel for more Hearthstone content in the future. And if you're interested in speedrunning, I do that too. There are hundreds of speedrunning videos on my channel, as well as other videos where I'm talking and doing recaps and other things like that. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video. It really helps the video get seen when you put a like on the video. As always, I have been Dr. Fish, and you have been awesome. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.